Welcome to Quarantine with Lou. I'm your host and strategic partner in cost reduction, Louis Fernandez. And today we're joined by Todd Jarvis, the Iron Man of your estate planning, staying vigilant and protecting your estate. But before we get into that, if you're a fan of inspiring people and informative content, then you come to the right place because that's all we do. So go ahead, take the like button out to dinner, see what's going on in their life, and remind yourself about this conversation when you're doing that. And with that, Todd, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. No, thank you, Lou, for having me today. This is exciting.
It is.
Been looking forward to this for a while here, so I appreciate the time.
So one of the things that I like to chat about with folks, and then kind of, I guess if you're going to say the drum that I've been beating, is that behind every product or service that we purchase, everything we're exchanging money for, there's an entrepreneur that's put their heart into that. And there's a lot of sweat and there's a lot of risk, and there's been, nights of concern and arguments with a partner and then joy, the highs and lows. It may just be an Oreo cookie to you that you shouldn't be eating. However, it's a big deal for somebody else. So I wanted to, get a little bit more about your story and how you've gotten into this business, and a little bit about where you're from and how you landed here, and we'll talk a little bit about the challenges and kind of see where the conversation goes.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I got into practicing law because that's just what it's interesting you talk about entrepreneur spirit and the entrepreneur that's behind all of our products and services and anything we do. That's really what got me into where I am today, is my love of small business or large business or business in general, right? Growing things, establishing things, really touching and people's lives and serving others. I really think that an entrepreneur, their calling in life is to serve, and they have a passion, whether it's through a product or a service, and it's that passion that and their belief in what they do and what they can offer that drives them to and obligates them in a way to make sure they are serving everybody that they can and providing that and touching all those lives. And so it was through knowing that and having that spirit myself of loving to be an entrepreneur that's led me to be where I am today. That's why I went to law school. So I knew from my experience in the software industry that I really liked building things, right? I during undergrad, I worked for a Fortune 500 technology company, and I was in kind of project management, middle management, right?
How old were you when you went to get your degree? I mean, you're just kind of glossing over this, man. Wait, hold on. I was 17 when I started college. I feel like that was not the case for you, or you are way smarter than I am.
I started getting my degree when I was 21. I had served a mission for my church and between the ages of 19 and 21. And then I buckled down and started working and getting my degree. I did take a little longer. It's kind of always, when I tell the story, I always reflect on the movie Tommy Boy, right? 7 years of school. No, but right. And it comes through. I took a little bit longer to get my degree, maybe the 5-6 year track, because I was raising a family at the same time. My wife and I had started our family almost right after I started school, right? And by the time I got done with my undergrad, in those 6 years, when we were moving on to law school, we had I think 4 or 5 kids at that time. So I was working full time throughout my undergrad, raising the family, right? Avoid that student loan debt and and provide for the family. So yeah, and so while I was in undergrad, I was working for this technology company, and I was kind of as new projects, like I said, as a project manager and middle management, I was called upon a few times to build out new departments and try new things, right? And that's where I found my passion for that. And so I was kind of like an internal entrepreneur, right? I was within the business, I was kind of starting some new things. And that's when I decided, I wanted to work with entrepreneurs, and I figured, if I go to law school, I can be an attorney and have my hands in tons of different projects, right? Be helping entrepreneurs and in many different projects, not just my own. So that's what got me going into law school, and that's why
Okay,
we ended
so
up.
let's just set the scene. It's been 6 years. You're finally walking across the stage with that bachelor's degree. Five, did you say 5 or 6 kids at home at that point?
5.
5 kids. And you walk over to your wife, you're like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to go to law school now. How does that land?
Well, fortunately, that conversation happened a little sooner.
Okay.
And she was all in. So we had by the time I graduated from undergrad, I was, May of that year, right? And then I was starting law school in August. So we had a couple months um, to get ready for that. And we were in Utah at the time. We are moving down to Arizona to go to the University of Arizona for law school. Um, fun story. So when we knew we needed to come down here and get, because I'm still in Arizona, obviously.
Yeah, well, you and I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so with that, we didn't, we had kind of been looking for places to stay and such. So I came down for orientation. It was like a 4-day orientation before law school started, my first year. And so I had those 3-4 days to find a place for us to live, because Jane, my wife, was at home packing, getting ready to come down. And I was on the hunt to make sure we had somewhere to land when we drove down, right? It worked out well though. And we had a great place that we lived in for 9 years or so after starting law school. So, and we're no longer there, but it was a great place for the family at the time and for our next journey. But no,
she let
very
you
supportive.
pick the living arrangements as well without her seeing it.
She did. She gave me the short list that she had found online, right? Through searching, and I just kind of went off of her short list. So she already had kind of pre-approved everything. So no, I was not going to feel comfortable making the full decision, right?
All right.
But yeah, so that's why we're here, and that's why we're doing what we do. That's why we're working with entrepreneurs and particularly their families, and not just families that own businesses, but all families, right? When it comes to the family side of what I do, we're not just picky towards family business owners, but yeah. So we started working for a local firm here in Tucson, a great firm, and had a really good mentor. And one of the partners, and really helped me to get a passion and understanding of how to serve clients in a really neat way. But like I said, I had that goal of working towards working with entrepreneurs. And a little interesting thing, I had also, after I passed the bar, I also took the patent bar. So I'm a registered patent attorney. Which means I work with like intellectual property, patents, trademarks. And with that, you have to have a certain scientific background. So I guess I can talk a little bit about that background. So undergrad, unlike a lot of attorneys, not to say anything's bad with this, but a lot of attorneys have history and political science degrees, right?
I got a history degree. Yeah. Most of the folks I went through with school they went to law school after. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I took a little different path. My undergraduate degree is in bioinformatics.
Okay.
Which is kind of a marriage of computer science and computer engineering married with molecular biology and genetics.
Oh, something easy.
Yeah, it was fun. But right. And then so we went to law school with that, because you have to have a certain technology background in order to take that patent bar exam. And I knew I wanted to be able to speak tech with the tech-based businesses that I worked with. And especially now that technology has become such an integral part of business, I feel like I can really serve my clients at a different level because I understand technology at the level I do. While I was in law school, I didn't just, while I was getting my JD and my doctorate degree in law school, I also worked on and got a master's degree in genetics concurrently at the same time. So I did continue my education on that side of things too. But with the goal, like I said, that I could really kind of work with businesses at a different level than a lot of attorneys can. And it's paid off. And a lot of my clients have appreciated that.
Were you, okay. That's a lot of school,
Yeah.
right? Were you working again still like when you went to law school, or did you have to like, 'cause, I mean, law school and then this genetic stuff, like how do you find time to uh I assume like that's all you can do. I don't.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I did not have a full-time job, or
Yeah.
even, I don't know, think about it. I worked part-time my third year for a law firm. Um, but the first 2 years I didn't work because I
Okay.
couldn't. I just, like you said, time wasn't there, and I needed, I kind of buckled down at that point and got the schooling done and done well.
Right.
Um, and then knowing that would kind of pay off towards my next step, right?
So how did you guys make it through that time?
Mostly student loans and grants.
Okay.
And then my third year, that um, step towards. I did have scholarship and stuff like that too. That kind of helped with that.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's kind of how we got through the first 2 years, and then third year we had supplement from that law clerk job with a local
So
firm.
so you graduate college and you get a job at a firm.
Mhm.
How long do you do that for?
I worked for that firm for, I believe, if I'm right, 6 years, 6, 7 years, something like that. And then I'd have to do the math. And I just
Yeah.
doing it live here on unrecorded video, I'll pass. But we so 6, 7 years, and I worked for them, and it just came to a point to where I was wanting to kind of branch out on my own, and it just made sense for both of us, for the firm, for me. The firm, the partner of the firm had a different direction he wanted to go to get ready
Mhm.
for retirement, and I felt like it was a good opportunity for me. So for over the last year, we kind of worked together to get ready for me to transition out and start my own firm. I really wanted to kind of change the way when I started my own firm. I really wanted to be kind of modernize and revolutionize the way that I worked with clients, both business owners and families, and put a different model in place, and kind of try to restructure the relationship that families and business owners have with their attorney.
Mm.
Um, I think, and we can get this into in a minute, but I think there's something else I want to mention before we get into that. But I think that's kind of why we kind of transition. That's why I'm excited about what I'm doing now and how much I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But one thing, I think you mentioned estate planning at the beginning and families and working with that. But I've been talking about working with business owners, and there might be some people wondering, well, what does he do? And how does this work? What is it that you do? So when I first started working, I did have an intent to work primarily with business owners and to help them to establish their businesses and to grow their businesses, and basically do what most traditional business attorneys do, right? Get the right legal documents in place, get the right business entity formed for you, and make sure that, when you have a legal issue, to advise you on it, and such. But I found that we having that discussion of with the business owner, as far as, let's protect your business, let's make sure your business is growing and that things are going, and that, risk is minimized. I really was having a hard time having that discussion with business owners without involving their family and what was
Mhm.
happening at home, and
Yeah.
what was the plan for if something happened to them, how was their family going to be provided for? How was their family going to have access to the funds and the assets they needed to get through that transition of having one of the parents incapacitated or passing away, making sure the kids were taken care of in case of a temporary or permanent emergency. So like I said, I was having a hard time separating those things. So that's where I knew that I kind of really needed to integrate and start helping them to work also on their plan for their family. Traditionally, we call it estate planning. I like to call it legacy planning. It's a plan for life. It's a plan for peace of mind, knowing that you've got the right people in the right place to help you out and help your family without delay and without the court's involvement if
Mm.
something happens. So
Yeah.
that's why you hear me talk about working with families and working with business owners, and of course that planning isn't just for business owners. So I also work with families on that specific kind of planning, who families who don't have businesses, retired people, all the whole spectrum of life.
And I think that's interesting, something that you mentioned there. And we talk about, I've talked to enough business owners and entrepreneurs throughout my life to understand and that's what I was talking about, like this emotional attachment where this thing that you have created, um, it's like another child, right? There's there's a certain emotional tie-in with that, and it's you see a real like a tangible effect of this, of where you're talking about how how to protect a family, and that like the family and the business and all of this, like it becomes almost like this lifestyle. Everything is intertwined and together, and it all plays a part. um and I think that's that's part of what happens when you decide to go out there and do this. Like, for most people, if you're on a 9 to 5, it's just a 9 to 5. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't, you know, yeah, I know that, like, that's your primary source of income or whatever. And, you lose a job, but what do? You lose a job, or you get fired, or you get cut, you know, you dust off a resume, and you find another one.
Mhm.
A business owner, I mean, you're going down with the ship. You know,
Right.
you're out to sea in this ocean, and you better find a way to plug that hole, and get the water out of this thing, and keep it going. I mean, your family's on that boat with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I really see my role, especially as I transition to this, starting my own firm. I mentioned kind of trying to revolutionize the way, change the way that attorneys interface and work with, or at least I do as an attorney, with business owners and their families. I in such a way, over the last 10, 20, 30 years, attorneys have really kind of commoditized ourselves, right? We've really just become a pile of documents to people. Like, oh, I need an LLC formed. Let me go to an attorney. Okay, attorney drafts it, files it with the state. You're done, right?
Mm.
Oh, I need an NDA because I'm talking to a distributor or manufacturer or something. Okay, well, here's your NDA. Good. Okay. They're billing by the hour. So business owners really don't want to spend the time to talk with
Right.
you, because they know every minute costs them $60 or something, right? um, so it's really counterintuitive, and because I really feel that my my role as their attorney is to be that trusted advisor, right?
Sorry, I just had this image in my mind of, like, the phone sex lines. And
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
Just,
Well, it's a lot less fun talking to your attorney, I tell you.
it costs more too.
Yeah. um
Sorry.
No, it's okay. um, but yeah, so I just wanted to kind of break through that and help business owners know that, hey, I'm there to be proactive with them in their business, to make sure that we foresee those holes, in the coming down the line, and that we're ready to keep them from developing or to plug them when they happen, right? I don't want to be reactive my relationship with the business owners I work with. I want them to be able to sit down with me, discuss with me, really help them strategize and come up with plans to grow and to secure and really firm up those foundations in their business.
Mm.
Talk about not just the legal, but the insurance, the finance, the tax foundations, and make sure they have good financial systems in place so they're making the right decisions, when to invest in the next growth phase, right? Or the next software solution or the next employee. A lot of people are like, hey, I need this new thing. It would really help my business. And the way they make the decision whether to buy it or not, or to invest into it or not, is whether they have the money in the bank account that day. And that's not a great way to make an investment decision in your growing business, right? You want to have a financial system in place where you can project where your money's coming from, where it's going to be, and that whether this investment is sustainable and is the right best next step for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, we really, like I said, the documents, the employment agreements, the NDAs, the business entity, all of those things, your client engagement letter, those are all the tools we use to um, to uh, to obtain and to reach a certain objective and certain goal. But the value in working with me is to help create and strategize that objective and that goal. And then we'll identify the tools we need to put in place. So it's more objective oriented, it's more goal oriented, it's more moving forward and making sure everything really works together within your business. When I sit down and talk to someone, I don't just ask them about their legal, I don't just say, they tell me, hey, I need an NDA. Okay, well, tell me who the person is that you're working with. What is your product name? And then draft a document, right? They can do that through LegalZoom. They don't need me for that, right? What I'm there for is to sit down with them, learn and understand, what is their client engagement process look like? How are they onboarding clients? Where are they getting their clients from? Who are their employees? What is the relationship with those employees? And really find out, well, where are they planning to go? Are they planning? One of the first things a business owner should think about when they're starting a business is, what is their exit strategy? How are they getting out of this business?
At this point in the video, Todd dropped off Zoom because that's something that happens sometimes. And I figured it was a good opportunity to let you know that if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, then you should chat. I'd love to have you on the show, and I'd also love to help you reduce your expenses. So let's keep going back when we got back together. Okay, so we're back, and Todd's back, and we're going to keep going and see where it goes. So, what we might do is throw an advertisement like right in the middle of there. So, like, oh,
Go get a sponsor. Go get a sponsor.
Yeah, quick. So I was going to say, you talk about that transactional relationship of, I pay you per hour, you send me a document. How do you operate differently then?
Okay, good. I've talked a tiny bit about this from the business planning side, where, I'm really focusing on finding out what their hopes, dreams, and goals are for their business and helping them strategize that and to put in firm foundations, legal, insurance, finance, and tax foundations in place. So I'm going to maybe answer this question, talk a little more about on the family side, okay? And estate planning, legacy planning, right? So traditionally what would happen is if you decide, hey, I need a will, right? You think, oh, I need a will or something to make sure I have control, right? So you call an attorney, and that attorney says, okay, and you go and you sit down, and they ask you some questions, they make some recommendations on some documents you need. They draft those documents, you sign those documents, they hand them to you, maybe in a pretty binder, right? And then you go home and you put the binder on the shelf and you feel good, right? Hopefully you feel good. But the issue with that is that life changes, right? And everybody is different. You have shifts in your life. Your kids turn 18 and now they're adults. Now you can't make medical decisions for them, and you can't talk to the doctor for them, and the doctor won't talk to you. You retire, and now you got to think forward to, okay, maybe I'm going to need assisted living. How expensive is that? Am I going to be able to afford it? Do I want to pay all my money and waste all my money paying a nursing home? So life changes, right? And also the problem with that document sitting on the shelf is, in most cases, it's probably going to fail. One story to kind of illustrate what this means is I had a mentor when I first started getting into this kind of planning, and she shared with me an experience she had with her father-in-law passing away, and he had spent $6,000 on an estate plan, got a trust put together and everything. And the point of him wanting to put a trust in place versus, a will, and, he wanted a will with, coupled with the trust planning, is because he wanted to avoid probate for his family. He didn't want his family to have to go to court to probate the will and to get all his affairs taken care of. So a trust can do that, right? A trust can avoid the probate process and make things a lot quicker and more private for the family. There's no delay and there's no court involvement. Conflict is reduced. Conflict like between siblings and family members and stuff, right? However, trusts have to be funded properly, meaning that the trust has to own all your property and all of your bank accounts, and has to own all of your assets to function properly. Whatever it doesn't own, it can't control. And in her dad's case, he had that traditional experience I just described. And so when they pulled those documents down off the shelf, and they looked through them and they looked at us all as assets. They found out that there were some bank accounts and some retirement accounts that weren't funded into the trust properly. No one helped them do them. There was a letter inside there from the attorney that helped prepare the document saying, hey, congratulations, here's your trust plan. Now go fund your trust. Put everything in it. There was instructions on how to do it and everything, right? But he didn't follow those instructions. He didn't even know that they were necessarily there. Who knows, right? Why it fell through. But that means the plan didn't work. They had to go to probate to deal with those separate assets. And so one way we wanted to make sure that this didn't happen to any of our clients is if we put a trust together for someone and help do trust planning with someone, we are going to help them through the funding process. Okay. We don't just hand them the documents and say, good luck, bye. It's great working with you. We're done. It's a relationship we develop. Just like with the business owners, we're developing a relationship, an ongoing relationship. And with the families that we work with through this planning, we are going to help them fund any trusts that we've created. And then we are going to be there for them to give us a call, shoot us an email. We'll give them continued advice and counseling regarding their plan ongoing, right? That's with any family we work with. Also, we are going to call them at least and reach out to them at least every 3 years to sit down and to revisit the plan. We're going to make sure this is still working. We're going to see what's changed in their life. We're going to see what's changed in the law and in their assets to make sure that this plan is still working for them, that the trusts we put in place are still properly funded, and that everything is working. So we're doing that at least every 3 years, ongoing basis, for no extra fee, right? This is all built into the original flat fee, no hourly fees. Remember, when they first engage us and say, yeah, we want you to do your planning for us, we're like, here's the fee. This is what's going to cost you. This is going to take care of us getting everything put in place, plus that ongoing support where we're visiting with each other every 3 years to check up and make sure things are going smoothly. There are changes that we need to make. In some of those instances, there may be additional fees, but they're going to be, again, flat fees paid up front and told about up front. And they're nominal compared to the original trust and the original planning fees, right? But yeah, so that's why I kind of have that slogan, like I'm a lawyer for life, right? We're there for you. We'll continue to work with you. We have all the conversations we need to get the plan in place. We take the time to really, our first meeting when it comes to this kind of planning with a family, we set aside 2 hours for that meeting, right? And we call it a family wealth planning session. And we're going to sit down for 2 hours and we're going to dive deep into their assets, their family dynamics, their beliefs, their values, and really find out and explain to them what would happen in the current situation, whether they have a plan, we talk about in context of that current plan or that we're reviewing for them, or if they don't have a plan, we're talking about the state's default plan for us, because the state has a default plan for us if we decide not to put a plan in place. It's not the greatest plan, but it's there. So we talk about it and they tell us what they don't like about their current situation and what they want to fix. And then we talk about how we can help them fix that, right? And they build a plan and are choosing a plan through being empowered and educated on the control and decisions they can make now while they're alive that'll affect their incapacity and when they pass away. So that's how we're different. Another kind of interesting and important way that we're different is me being, very family oriented, having kids at home. There's one thing that traditional planning doesn't really address, and that is the temporary guardianship issues with kids. Okay, so traditional planning and the planning that attorneys do will generally take care of your permanent guardianship, meaning who's going to raise your kids if you pass away and can't raise them yourself.
Yeah, that's
usually taken care of in normal traditional planning. What's not taken care of is you're out on a date with your spouse and you get in a car accident on the way home. Either both of you pass away, you're never coming home, or maybe you're in the hospital for a couple of days. What's going to happen that night? We know that traditional planning will take care of what's going to happen in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But what about that night and for the next couple of days? And so what would really happen in most states is that the authorities will show up and the babysitter won't have a clue of what to do.
Yeah.
And so the authorities will have to figure out what to do with the kids. And they're going to get the state involved. Usually social services gets involved, and the kids are going to be with strangers for a day or two, or that night, or for however long it is. It's too long, right? So we want to kind of nip that in the bud, right? We want to stop that from happening. So when we were working with families who have minors at home still, we put in place what we call a kids protection plan. And that kids protection plan puts in place and empowers neighbors or friends or family that are within 10, 15, 20 minutes of their home. We want a good list of people, maybe, maybe up to 5 people, or couples on this list, that the authorities can call through and feel comfortable knowing and are authorized to leave the kids with that night. And then that moment they can call them, they can come get the kids, and the kids are going to be with someone that they know, someone they trust, someone and someone you trust. And they're going to be empowered to do that. They'll have the right legal documents in place, but beyond that, they'll also have some written guidance from you as far as, who their doctors are, what their insurance carrier is, if they need to go to, if there's any issues, what their school is, and kind of what activities they have going on in their lives, just to make sure the kids' lives are as, their interruptions are as little as possible.
Yeah. So how does the police officer know that when they arrive?
Good question.
Yeah.
So one thing is we have instructions for the babysitter that the parents will go through with the babysitter, right? Or the oldest kid if they're the babysitter, so that when the authorities show up or whoever shows up, they'll be able to reference those instructions. Also, we have wallet cards for the parents. Authorities will often, if go through, your find ID and find information on you if you're not responsive. So we have wallet cards that have all those neighbors and families and friends listed on there and their phone numbers that they can start reaching out to. So those are some of the ways that we make sure that people are educated on that.
Dude, this is really heartbreaking to talk about, man.
Yeah. It's tough. These are hard conversations, but done in the right way, they can be good conversations, and they lead to, like I said, that peace of mind, knowing that you've kind of taken care of these difficult things, these hard to think about things that, knowing that they're taken care of makes it a little bit easier to talk about them and to think about them, and such. So, yeah,
I just think of my babies. Mine are still pretty small, so that's a hard thing to sit down and go through. But again, there you could see why you can't unhook a business to the family, and how these things go together. Okay, but I know that's not all you do, right? So you focus on additional areas as well.
So in a way, I work with business owners. And again, most of my relationships with business owners is an ongoing basis. It's not a one-time transactional, hey, I hired Todd to write this document. The way I work with business owners is an advisory council role. So in most cases, we are working year long on where they're at. We're having strategic calls every quarter or every month or every 2 weeks, depending on the level their business is at and what their needs are.
Yeah.
I'm involved in all their executive meetings, helping them maintain their minutes for their business. And I'm helping with their marketing. I'm helping them with their client engagement. I'm helping them with all of that, right? I'm also helping them to, at certain levels, if there is an area of practice of law I don't work in, if they have a dispute, like a lawsuit, I don't do litigation. Okay. I've done it. I don't mind doing it. The thing I didn't like doing about it was that I just personally, it was a scheduling thing. I just didn't want someone else, the court or the adversarial party, having control over my calendar. So it was a very selfish, whatever driven reason why I don't do litigation, right? It's because I want to be able to set my own schedule.
Yeah.
Right? But I have some really good friends, really good colleagues that are really good at it, and they love it. And so if that is an issue and something that my clients do find themselves in, I will help them manage that by bringing in my colleagues, and I can even, help them hire them and manage the litigation for them through the attorney. If they, because the business owner don't have time to do that. Right. So I can kind of be that counsel to help advise with that. I work with their tax advisors. I work with their CPAs, their bookkeepers,
How
to
many people
advise
are in
with
your
them.
office?
Uh, well, I have it's me, and I have a customer relations director who does a lot of work to make sure that we're on task and meeting everybody's needs.
Yeah.
The information flowing right. I also have a paralegal that I work with that helps me with the drafting of documents and to get things going that way.
Hmm.
My main role is the advising and the strategic counsel
Yeah.
with the clients and educating the public. Right.
Dude,
It's kind
I
of
just can't, like, the CRM that you would need to keep track of all of this. Okay, how about this? Are you setting the meeting in 3 years when you're sitting down? Like, are you going ahead and putting that on your calendar like 3 years in advance, or are you going to try and schedule that?
no. So my CRM, my system has it all automated.
Okay.
So it'll ping me, it'll ping the client to help us to get together to arrange it. Yeah, my automation system is pretty advanced and pretty laid out.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can keep on top of all this, right?
That's, I'm just hearing you describe all of this stuff, and I'm thinking about like my own to-do list. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff that you are on top of, tuned into, plugged into, and managing. I've got like the image of the Penn and Teller juggling act in my head,
But yeah, with the right systems and the right people, I mean, our team is growing. It'll continue to grow as needed, and which is great. But yeah, we've got things pretty dialed. We have a good. I have a good. Everybody needs a coach. I just like us. People hire me to help coach them and to strategize with them. I have my own, who helps me make sure that I'm on top of things and meeting my goals and such. So, because yeah, I mean, it's kind of the way life is, right? I mean, it's hard to do what we do for other people for ourselves sometimes.
Mm.
So,
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. That's a big mic drop right there.
yep.
You hire a coach to tell you the same thing you tell other people. Like, ah, no.
Sometimes someone else can see the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
That you can't when you're nose to the grindstone.
So who is your ideal client?
Ideal client is a business owner who has a family that wants strategic advisement, wants help. They've got their business. They might be starting out, or they might be buying a business. I do a lot of help with a lot of business purchases and sales, and acquiring businesses and kind of take them to the next level from there. So yeah, as an ideal client is a business owner who's got a family who may be thinking that they're doing okay, but as they grow, they see their business making more money each month, but for some reason they are still broke at each end of each month.
Mm.
Maybe they're starting to hire and grow their team, but they're not sure how to do that or what's the best way of doing that. Here's the thing with business. Business is about relationships. That's all it is, right? It's all about relationships. It's about relationships with your clients. It's about relationships with your employees, with your vendors, with your tax professional. It's all your partners.
Mm-hmm.
So the nice thing about business and relationships in business is it's okay and it's acceptable to sit down and write out your expectations for that relationship, right? Don't do that
Don't do that in marriage.
personal.
Yeah.
But in business, it's totally acceptable, and it's really the way to do it, right? And that's all contracts are. That's all agreements should be. Each agreement that you put in place should be approached in that circuit, under that light, right? Or in that vision of, hey, I'm working with this new other business owner or this other client, and they need something from me. I need something from them, and we're going to work together for our benefit of both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, getting those legal documents in place, so, one helps you take things more seriously, it mitigates the possibility of issues, that litigation I talked to you about, because if something goes wrong, you've already talked about it. You've already made the decision. You can just go back to the document and say, hey, this is what we decided to do in this circumstance. Let's do that. We don't have to make the decision when emotions are high.
Right.
So that's, so someone who is growing in their business and doesn't have those things in place, wondering how they can get those things in place. Those are kind of some of the things we look at. They're not sure if they're paying too much in their taxes. They're not sure if, if they've got the right business entity in place. Someone told them they didn't need an LLC or corporation in place until they became more serious about their business or started making real money, right? You give a lot of that advice, and it's just not the greatest advice. So that's kind of I think my ideal client, and someone who wants a partner, a strategic partner, ongoing, that will help them to continue to grow and feel confident that their business is ready for that growth. There's a lot of people out there that are, hey, I'll 10x your business for you, or I'll help you 2x your business, or whatever it is. But is your business ready for it? Can your business handle it? Are you just going to crash and burn from that pressure of that growth?
Yeah.
You're going to need a team. You're going to need a financial system, manage that money. The more money you get in a business, the more you make, the more decisions you have to make, and the more confusing things get.
Yeah.
And you start to attract negativity. It's just what happens.
Right.
And so you're touching more people's lives, and you want to make sure that you're touching the right people's lives, and that you're not engaging with the people who are just going to cause problems with you, right?
Yeah.
So that's someone who wants guidance and help in that area, and to push forward that way, and is really who I'm looking to work for.
Do you work solely here in Arizona?
So with family estate planning, I can only do that in Arizona. There's some legal things for businesses I can only do in Arizona, but I work with businesses throughout the nation, and I've got clients in Mexico and such, business clients. What we need to do sometimes in that circumstance is sometimes we'll have to hire local counsel to review things, make sure that we're just, any local specific things, legal, where I'm not licensed to do. We'll hire local counsel to guide us in those things. But I still work with business owners at that level, on that strategic advisement level,
Sure.
throughout the nation. But I'm also working on getting licensed in Utah. I'll be able to do everything in Utah shortly too.
Okay. Awesome. So any parting words of wisdom?
I think, oh man, I don't know. just live long and prosper. I don't know.
No.
No, but they can, there's one thing,
if you haven't, right?
Right. So there's a couple things I have out there that maybe if they're curious about anything here. One thing, if you're curious about the estate planning and family planning, I put together a really short webinar that people can just go listen to. There's no commitment or anything. You just you have to tell me where I can email you the link
Sure.
to watch it. But if they want to learn more about what they can do for their family and their asset protection and such, they can go to planmylegacytoday.com.
Okay.
It's planmylegacytoday.com. And then if they want to look at their business and see maybe where their business foundations are at and get a kind of a feel for that, I've got like an online assessment, like online quiz, right? They can go through, and that's at empower you. So it's empowerur.life/bizquiz. I'll spell it out.
Yeah, we'll put a link.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So yeah, look for empower your life empower.life. Anyways, you'll put it in there. Man, domains, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the things you, like I said, you just gotta get counsel and advice on those things. Trademarks, important. IP. Make sure it works for you.
All right.
Clients.
And I would say if somebody is still listening and they listen past the interruption and whatever I'm going to do in the middle, maybe I do something or not, and they've reached this point, I feel like we've probably you've given us an hour. Give us a like button, a little smash, maybe drop a comment in like, hey, I made it through the interruption, and fill out the information on the links there on Todd's site. you're not going to regret doing it. You're not going to regret taking the time. You may regret if you didn't, a little FOMO there at the end. So thank you all for listening, and we'll chat again soon.